Welcome back to another episode of Growth Vertical. Today we're going to be talking about engaging on LinkedIn, Facebook, and even Twitter groups to get more customers for your startup. This is actually explaining tactic number 12 from my 17 proven marketing tactics to grow a startup without any budget video. So for those of you who haven't seen it already, I'll link it in the description below. Otherwise, when we're done, I'll be putting this all into a playlist so that you can go through the entire set of 17 videos and you can start implementing some of these tactics right away and see if you can get some results from there. For those of you who are new, I'm Neil Patel. I'm a growth marketer based in the UK, and on this channel, I break down growth marketing and personal growth so we can better growth hack businesses, our careers, and ourselves. So now let's get into it. What do I mean by engaging on social platforms? So the first things first is that engaging on social platforms is the basic way to say it, right? But there's a more formal way that people refer to this in the B2B industry specifically, and that is social selling. Now, social selling is essentially connecting with people, generating contacts and connections by simply building relationships through with your prospects, but on social platforms. Social platforms or social networks are your LinkedIns, your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Reddit, and even Quoras, and the list is endless. Wherever you're actually engaging with a community or your target prospect, we just call that a community, of course. And of course, within that community, you'd be engaging with them. Therefore, you are somewhat social selling or using some form of social selling, right, on those platforms. Now, this is important. Now, this is actually what the tactic is called, right? Social selling. But this can be particularly engaging because, especially if you have a particular list of prospects that you have on your radar, you can actually be more specific with the key people that you want to build relationships with, or the companies, key people at companies that you want to bring in as new business. And that's some way that we would use this particular tactic for. You'll be sharing sort of content. If you think about it, you'll be sharing content on particular platforms. So whether you're asking your sales reps or you're doing a lot of the business development yourself, you can start to go on platforms like LinkedIn, which I'm going to be showing you today with some examples on how you can share some content that's useful for people. You'll be engaging in certain platforms, answering questions, providing insights for particular industries for not only the highly sought out answers and, to answer those questions that people are asking, the most valuable ones and the most common ones, but also the biggest and most highly sort of represented problems in your industry that people are trying to solve, right? People are always talking about. And the whole point of this is so that you can help people. The whole point of social selling is so you can help people so that they can somehow come into the funnel, but in a more natural way, and so that you can sort of point them in the right direction, let's say, and you can help them get into your funnel more organically. So if you point someone to a resource, they might download that resource, right? And in the end, they might be put into your email nurture that you've set up on the back end. Now, as you can imagine, there's some sweat equity involved in some of these things, hence why it's low cost. And this is a low cost tactic. But with some improvements, with some real strategic thinking, you can actually use social selling really well, especially with things like high intent leads, retargeting, and even segmentation of particular leads, right? And the people that you're actually speaking to online. Now, the key with this strategy, this is important to know, the key with this strategy is actually to deliver value with every touch point with the audience. So with that one-to-one, with that one person that you're speaking to on, maybe it's a thread or a post that someone's pushed out and everyone's discussing things, your job is to actually deliver value within that post or within your message. And it's supposed to be authentic and long-term focused. It's not a hard sell. Don't expect the sell to go through, and it's simply because that isn't social selling. That's essentially just selling, right? Directly on social platforms. So different definition. So why is this important? Well, social selling is important because now B2B marketing and sales it's changed a lot. It's changed a dramatic amount, and more people are actually using these social networks to engage with relevant content. So back in the day, they would be using platforms which I'll go into, like LinkedIn, for like jobs searching and things like that. But now it's changed a lot. They seek out more information early on for specific things. They have like a buyers committee that does a lot of their due diligence. So B2B, especially if you're targeting enterprises, they'll have a buyers committee, someone who's a team that's tasked with finding and bringing in new tech to the business so that they can meet their objectives or actually achieve their goals for the year, right? So they set up these committees so that they can do the research. So imagine that they're doing research on social platforms as well, trying to look for content, trying to look for the best possible piece of information that distinguishes who the best provider is of that problem that they're trying to solve, whether it's a software, whether it's a service. So there are actually so many versions of the same SaaS products. Let's say like you have 50 different, or probably even more than 50 these days, but there's thousands of marketing automation tools, hundreds of, probably thousands even, of email marketing automation tools, anything like that. So customer service and relationships mean that much more to businesses now, and that's actually how you get your foot in the door much sooner, how you can create a big impact, especially in these days, because content, first off, content is flooding a lot of our platforms. A lot of people are getting content and sort of banner blindness, ad blindness, post blindness, and this is simply because there's just too much to consume. So how do you stand out, right? And the key way of doing this is relationships. For example, let's look at LinkedIn that I was talking about, right? Professionals usually connect on this platform and they look to upskill, right? And find jobs, then essentially work on their next step of their career and now get updates about their industry, right? People or professionals would only log into LinkedIn about maybe once every month, twice every month, 3 times every month maybe. But now people are actually looking to log in every week to some sort, right? Maybe it's to get back to their messages, to update their profiles, and it's changing. The behavior of these platforms are changing. LinkedIn isn't a hard sell platform, so don't expect there to be tons and tons of leads through just LinkedIn alone. But it's important to note that LinkedIn itself is a great resource, and people are now behaving in ways where they want to connect with other professionals, but learn and upskill, right? Which tells you something. If they're there to learn and upskill as well, that means they might be interacting with content, they might be reading. And what does that mean for you, who's trying to generate leads for the right contacts at the right business that you want to bring in? It means you need to be a part of those conversations. You need to put yourself at the front. And so this means that there's an opportunity for you to actually solidify your position in the market that you're in as an authority and thought leader in the space, and then build trust over time. And so you'll be helping people, you should be looking to help people with queries, questions, and weighing in on particular topics. I could go on one of these posts on my feed, for example, today on LinkedIn, and this isn't posts, of course, but on my feed, I could probably go and I could start to actually come up with some ideas, right, on how to interact with this post maybe, or how to interact with one of these posts, right? Maybe I have thoughts on LinkedIn about LinkedIn account managers or LinkedIn strategies or something. And so you really want to find a way of actually finding the right topics that you want to build your authority in. And this will be related to your product, service, and even market overall. So with this in mind, finally, it's important that we build this trust, these relationships by social selling, so that once they click on your profile and they find out what you do, they will essentially remember who you are and what you offer, what company you work for, what they offer. And when the need arises from their end, they will actually organically reach out to you or for example, they might refer someone internally to reach out and do their due diligence on you. Alternatively, you might have an opportunity, right? Where someone asks a question and you say, hey, we created a guide specifically to solve this. Please read it. We think you will find it helpful, right? It will answer all the questions that you're asking here. And when you've done that, you've not only provided them with some answers, but you've provided them with some help. And you've not asked them for anything, right? You've just simply said you can go and read it, spend some time, find out. And guess what? If your tool is connected to the solution you've provided within that content piece, for example, they will come back to you when and as the need arises and when they get the budget. So, how can you carry out a social selling strategy effectively? How can you engage on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter groups, whatever it is? Well, I'm going to give you examples on each of the platforms, right? First, let's start with Facebook. So for example, you can use keywords to find topic-based groups that you want to interact with. Now, what does that mean? It means that if I'm selling marketing automation software, or I know a lot about it, and I'm a business development rep, or even I'm the founder, or I'm a marketer, a growth hacker maybe, you want to go and type in those keywords, find out the groups, and then say, hey, well, look at all these groups, right? If I wanted to talk about marketing automation, guess what? I can click into one of these and I can go ahead and interact with people on here. So they might be asking something, probably there's spam posts these days, but let's say that we do find out a particular group. You can actually go into these, like, look, MailChimp for entrepreneurs, really cool. This is really cool. So you can join this group and see if you're someone that's got something related to MailChimp, right? And you found a guide of optimizing MailChimp and using it with your platform, or you have a solution that's complementary to MailChimp. I could go in here and see what people are talking about. And only if you can provide some value, if you can provide some insight, then you should engage, right? Don't engage with well done, thanks, you know, these this is amazing, this is interesting only type of comments and posts, because they don't really work, and people know you're just trying to get in on the conversation with very little to say. So there's that. Alternatively, you can use job titles, right? Keywords to find people discussing job related topics, right? So like digital marketing, if you're to type that in, or if you're to type in ERP or AI digital marketer, you can actually go ahead and type in some of these things, right? So that's some of the ways that you could actually use Facebook, right? And you can go and provide advice, provide help, and weigh in. Now, LinkedIn is really interesting, right? Because this is where all the professionals hang out. And most of you will use LinkedIn because it's the primary B2B marketplace, or I would even say social platform that you would look at. Probably not marketplace, wrong word to use. But you want to use keywords again to find topic-based groups that you want to interact with. So again, I've looked at marketing automation software, and if we scroll down this, you can see that there's a ton of people maybe in these groups. 3 million members that are part of software technology, which might be really interesting, right, to be part of. 3K members of marketing automation software, maybe something to do with making marketing automation software work well, maybe the best practices as it says here. So why not get involved in these areas, especially if you're a marketing automation software provider, or you have a tool that increases or makes it more of a robust tool depending on the tech stack they have existing. You can do the same with job role based groups. So you can type in things like, I don't know, growth marketers. So you can type in growth marketer, for example, and then we can go to groups, and here you go, growth hacking. You can go into that, and maybe you want to interact with these people. Then, as mentioned earlier, you can interact with posts on the main feed on topics that surround the problem and keywords that you've searched for. So typing in growth marketer, and maybe you want to say, I want to type in posts, and guess what? A ton of growth marketing posts will pop up. And this is how you can sort of go through all the content that we have today and see who you can interact with. So for example, if you know that someone's commented on this, someone said thanks for sharing, so probably no insight. But if you have any insight on, for example, this, leveling up your LinkedIn presence, maybe using a LinkedIn automation tool, then you can say straight away, hey, we've got this guide, this is actually really cool, and we think it'll be complementary, that sort of thing. So just build a relationship with them. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to give them something straight away, but just build a relationship with them, talk to them, and actually just write a bit about what you know as well. Right. Another way is to share downloadable content. So let's say you're having a conversation with someone, and like I mentioned earlier, you have something that's helpful to them, like a white paper. Well, you can actually provide these help guides for their teams. Maybe say, get your marketing manager to look at this marketing automation guide that we've created. It's got a load of tips, loads of tips and cheat sheets that we've got in this particular resource center, and even an ROI calculator, right? If you were to do things this way or use this tool. And you can even share that by DMing them after saying something in the comments like, hey, I'll DM you the resource, and then you can, hopefully it can help you. And that's the thing, right? You're doing the same thing, but on multiple platforms, but in very different ways because they interact differently. Same with here, marketing automation software. I'll click on this. Maybe I'll look for people that are actually talking about this, right? And I'll go onto their feeds and start talking to these people. Or I can go on the top list and just go and interact with the people on that are also having a conversation on these posts for Twitter. So you can get involved in these tweet storms and discussions on the feed and interact with people on a daily basis, right? And you want to follow the person, follow everyone and discuss the topics over a long time and share your own content, right? And that will improve both sides of the relationship from not just a knowledge standpoint, but from an upskill standpoint. People will get better. And this is how you'll generate leads in the long term, right? You can get people to download a piece of content over time, which is helpful. And guess what? You would have captured their email address for that. They would have gone into a nurture. They would have learned a bit more about you. Otherwise, you can invite them to a webinar. There's so many different ways that you can look at capturing the information to try and get someone to become a lead for your business, a valuable lead, and then a customer. So there we have it, everyone. You can now sort of go out there and test, some of these social selling tactics that we're talking about, and even the strategy overall. But I'd be curious to see how it works out for you. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll probably like the following video as well. So please feel free to check that out. Question: what social selling technique has worked for you so far? Drop that in the comment section below. Otherwise, if you did like this video, do like and share, because the YouTube algorithm would love this. And it can definitely help a lot more people. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy. See you soon.